Hello and welcome to the Klassiki Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Gold. Klassiki is your one-stop shop for the wide world of cinema from Eastern Europe. Subscribers gain access to our ever-evolving library of classic and contemporary films, as well as access to filmmaker interviews, video introductions, program notes, essays, watch lists, and much more. You can sign up for a 7-day free trial today at klassiki.online. Today, we're heading to Georgia to speak to two filmmakers about the fight for the future of independent cinema. Listeners may be aware that recent months have seen widespread protests and police crackdowns in Georgia. Dissatisfaction with the ruling Georgian Dream Party has consolidated around opposition to new legislation, a so-called foreign agents law, that makes it harder for civil society groups and cultural bodies to access international funding. Opponents argue that the law is modelled on similar legislation in Putin's Russia, and is a sign of Georgian Dream's increasing inclination towards Moscow in the face of public preference for more European integration. In this ongoing conflict, cinema plays an important role. Georgian film has been going through a productive and turbulent period. The Georgian National Film Centre, the state funding body, has had great success in recent years, with titles like Levan Akin's Gay Romance and Then We Danced, or Sandro Cobaridze's whimsical What Do We See When We Look at the Sky, garnering festival and critical acclaim, and demonstrating that this small Caucasian nation can punch above its nominal weight when it comes to international success. The Film Centre has also led on restorations and retrospectives of iconic figures from Georgia's Soviet era, including the likes of Eldar Shengalaya and Tengiz Abaladze, that have drawn attention to the country's rich cinematic legacy. But these achievements are now under threat. The Georgian Dream government's attempts to control the cultural sector have been particularly fierce in the film world. Alarm was raised when officials responded harshly to documentaries funded by the National Film Centre that criticised the business dealings of Bidzina Ivanishvili, a reclusive billionaire who is the funder behind the Georgian Dream project. In response, the party has clamped down on independent cinema, refusing screening licenses and appointing loyalists to run the National Film Centre. As a result, Georgian film has been split, with many film professionals boycotting the Film Centre and a wave of new independent organisations forming in an attempt to regain control of the soul of Georgian cinema. With elections looming later in the year, the future of Georgia's civil society and its film world would now appear to be closely connected. Today, I'll be speaking with two representatives of the so-called film movement to get to the heart of the protest wave in Georgian cinema. Keti Machavariani is a filmmaker and a member of the newly established Georgian Film Institute. Her work, which includes the features Salt White and Sunny, has explored the dilemmas and attitudes of ordinary Georgians in the face of growing social pressures. And Keto Kipiani works in documentary production and is a member of the Documentary Association of Georgia. She worked on titles including Salome Jashi's Taming the Garden and Sandro Cobaridze's What Do We See When We Look at the Sky? And she has directed a number of documentary shorts, including It Will Be Better Before, which premiered at this year's Vision du Réel. Together, they explain the situation on the ground for filmmakers, how Georgian Dream and Ivanishvili have reacted to critical views, and how the film world relates to the wider protest movement fighting for Georgia's future. You can find more information on all of this in the show description. I'm speaking now with Keti Machavariani. Keti, thanks for joining us. Why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners?
So I'm Keti Machavariani, filmmaker, and I'm a Georgian Film Institute, one of the Georgian Film Institute board members. So now I represent Georgian Film Institute.
So let's start there. What is the Georgian Film Institute? Why was it set up? And what is the role of the Georgian Film Institute in this ongoing story of this kind of conflict between artists and the government?
Yes. Georgian Film Institute is like a kind of association of filmmakers. And a few years ago, it was in 2019, when we saw the signs of censorship. When this arrows of censorship was towards writers, we decided to establish some alternative organization somehow to defend and rights of filmmakers, and somehow to support them in any direction. It was then was the pandemic, and in last year when we faced it, filmmakers were faced of censorship, we decided to revive this Georgian Film Institute, and it was last autumn, and then we decided to present our film institute to the big audience. We went to Berlinale. We had our independent stand, and trying to help filmmakers to present who were somehow out of Georgian governmental film industry, to reach audience, not only audience, reach film professionals, to present their projects and to establish new contacts and so on.
So, I mean, you hinted at it there, but could you just maybe, for our listeners, lay out briefly the history over the last kind of, I guess it's kind of 3 to 4 to 5 years of this increasing government interference, control over filmmaking? How has that evolved in the last few years?
It was like a slight. It was increasing. I mean, there were the waves of this control. But last year it was like a final, a final decision, because it started with Salome Jashi's documentary film, which was really interesting and really like a well-known documentary. Probably your audience know about this film,
Taming the Garden. Yeah.
Taming the Garden, and it was related. The subject was related to the local billionaire who was planting, changing nature, and planting huge trees, and this image in the middle of the sea of the huge tree, it is iconic. And our current Ministry of Culture was really disappointed, seems to be disappointed, because film was financed by Georgian Film Center, which is only fund, the state fund. And she started, and the head of parliament, that kind of films should not be funded by the government, and it's against our country, our state.
Just to clarify, so this billionaire, this is Bidzina Ivanishvili, who is widely understood to be the kind of power behind the party that is currently ruling Georgia, Georgian Dream. So which is why these particular films have prompted such a reaction and such an increase in censorship from the government.
And then the ministry and government was 100% not satisfied with the results, and they changed head of a film center and appointed a person who was from the penitential system, spent and never had any relation with the film industry, with the culture. He was a deputy minister of Ministry of Justice, and I would like to mention that our current Minister of Culture is the previous Minister of Justice, and all people working in the Ministry of Justice, in penitential system, probation agency, were appointed in the museum, in the film fund, in the theaters. So, I mean, appointed as a heads. So, and
that's quite telling, isn't it? It's quite, they're not,
yeah.
it's symbolically, it's very on the nose.
Yes, symbolically, it is not symbolic. It's obvious that the reason of the appointment was a control over these entities.
Right.
So, So these signs are pretty obvious, and from the last year, more than around 450 persons filmmakers are boycotting and in protest, and we are not taking part in any activities of film center.
You're getting onto it there. So let's lay this out just so that people have it clear. So the Georgian National Film Centre was the state body that distributed funding for filmmaking in Georgia. It has now been kind of subsumed into this kind of government apparatus and kind of refusing to work with independent or critical filmmakers. As a response, I'd say, you can tell me, but a large proportion of the filmmaking community in Georgia is boycotting the National Film Centre. And now your institution, the Georgian Film Institute, is kind of acting as a de facto kind of independent alternative to the film centre. So this is the current situation.
It's loudly told to alternative because the Georgian Film Institute does not have sources for funding film, but we are trying somehow to support some development of projects or support to reach local filmmakers, reach out to European filmmakers, or we are planning to organize educational activities such as workshops or kind of these activities. Unfortunately, we need much more time and sources. Unfortunately, this new law, probably your audience should know what does it mean, new law of agents, foreign force agents. That means if the organization is funded from the European Union, from abroad of the state, all members of this organization are will be from August these agents of foreign forces. So it will hinder our organizations to somehow to apply for the international funds to fund therefore local people from the film industry. So it's really difficult situation. We are expecting new election in October this autumn. So we are trying. We are trying to be hopeful. I mean that we will somehow we will. Me as a one citizen, my colleagues and other will change government, and the situation in the culture will change. Otherwise, I don't know how it will continue, how it will go on, because everybody knows that the film industry is consuming a lot of finances, and without finances, we are not able to create new products. So we are facing really tough time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a kind of universal truth, isn't it? Throughout the history of film industries and film censorship, film is such a financially hefty form of art, form of culture, that it's very quickly susceptible to government censorship because it's so dependent on funding.
Yeah, that's true.
Just briefly, how would you describe for our listeners the relationship between this kind of battle for the future of Georgian film and the street protests against the foreign agent law and against the Georgian Dream government that our audience may be more familiar with? What's the link, as you see it, between the battle over film and this more kind of explosive public protest situation?
It's direct link, and our government, they were trying to divide somehow that art is independent. We don't have any we should not have any connection with the politics, but art is politic, and film is politic. I mean, not tools. We are into politic, because once you are doing film and you are interacting with the audience, you are into the politics, and you have direct link to the local political situation. So all filmmakers, we were standing in a street and defending freedom of speech, because this law, foreign agents law, is a it's a kind of on one hand we have the censorship from Ministry of Culture, and on another hand this foreign agent law is changing 100% the life of local citizens in, for example, in culture, in social services, health services, because they were very good connected with the foreign funds. So we can't be silent, because we should somehow talk and show in our films what's happening around in our society. We have such a tool. Film is a tool somehow to spread and reach out more people to talk about these problems, what's happening in a country, in our country. So there was a direct link between street protesters and we today I was talking that I lost connection to my creative process for a while, because I was 100% focused on street activism all days and all nights. All our thoughts were toward this protest, and now we are 100 around 100 days are left till election. So let's see.
Well, good luck with everything with the Georgian Film Institute and with your activism. And thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for the interest in our situation in Georgian film, and I hope that Georgian film will continue attract audience and continue its tradition.
So I'm speaking now with Keto Kipiani, who is a member of the Documentary Association of Georgia. Keto, thanks for being here. Do you want to just introduce yourself for our listeners, who you are, what work you do?
Thank you, Sam. It's an honor to be here and to talk to you. Yes, you're right. I am a member of the Documentary Association of Georgia. In short, we call it DOPA Georgia, and I also serve as the executive director of the organization at this moment. And our organization aims to build a strong and sustainable community of documentary film professionals in the country. And it's like a very quite new organization, almost 2 years, but we are quite active and diverse in what we do.
So the Documentary Association was set up in 2022, right?
Yeah, November 2020.
So obviously this whole episode is about the kind of broader context in Georgian film. What was it specifically that led to the creation of this documentary focused organization?
Well, like 2 years ago or 2 or 3 years ago, we kind of felt that it was a time to make an organization that would advocate the film professionals. Like what is happening now, it is completely something that we did not expect, of course, but still there was some signs of things that we were not happy with. Also, especially when it comes to National Film Center. They were not as flexible as before. And also we wanted to advocate Georgian cinema, like internationally. So we thought that this member-based organization could be a good platform to help the professionals, and to somehow set the grounds for the common voice, and to support the creativity and the freedom of expression, and to improve also the policy, the cultural policy, and also to build the audience. And that was the main reason why there was lack of those that I'm talking about. So that was the main reason why we came up to the idea to unite together.
So documentary film has played an outsized role in this ongoing story, I think it's fair to say. We've already heard briefly from Keti Machavariani about Salome Jashi's film Taming the Garden from 2021, which provided a kind of catalyst for this increase in censorship, because it's about the strange personal actions and fixations of this character, Bidzina Ivanishvili, who is the billionaire behind the Georgian Dream Party. And you were actually part of the production crew for that film, so maybe you can briefly tell us about that. And then the second case study, if you like, was another documentary from last year called The Magic Mountain, which again attracted criticism and response because it made reference to Ivanishvili's business dealings. So can you tell us briefly about that film and about how documentary has prompted this increase in censorship?
Yes, Taming the Garden is produced by Saktok Film, it's a production company that where I work with my colleagues, and Salome Jashi is one of them. This is the production of our company. It can be said that it all started, this like the signs of censorship and everything. It started when the Film Academy refused to screen Taming the Garden. And the official reason was that the film causes differences of opinion and it divides society on political grounds. This is the quotation of the head of the Film Academy. This is what he said. It came quite a surprise for us, honestly. Like 1 year ago, if someone told us that there will be there will be film censored, and we would laugh. But it happened suddenly. And when I say that it was a surprise, I mean that before that, our generation had never experienced such a direct, blatant, shameless form of censorship. Even though we are very, very well aware that Georgia has never been like a bastion of flourishing democracy or something, but that was something completely unexpected, and we were like, what the hell? What is really happening? And then later in December 2023. The Minister of Culture accused the directors of Magic Mountain. The Magic Mountain is also the documentary by Marika Chachia and Nick Voigt, which depicts the former sanatorium in Abastumani in the mountains of Georgia. And this is basically the personal story. It was the place for the people with tuberculosis. At the end of the filming, when the directors were working there, all the territory, including this building, was sold, and Ivanishvili bought it. The directors, they mentioned his name in the film, obviously, because it kind of became part of the film. And then the minister's accusation was triggered by mentioning Ivanishvili's name in the film. And this is like very clear message from government and from the Ministry of Culture that these kind of films, the films that does not have happy end, should not be financed by the government, and that modern, contemporary Georgian films, they show a lot of misery and that it's not what we are going to pay for. This is basically their message.
Well, that message that the government will not fund, state bodies will not fund films that portray a country in an unflattering way. I'm sure documentary filmmakers would say in a realistic way, in an honest way, they won't receive funding from state bodies. I mean, that's something that we've seen in a number of different countries with this kind of with state control, with kind of authoritarian policies towards culture, including Russia, including Hungary, including other places. Can I just ask finally, Keto, obviously documentary film, like you've been talking about, has kind of been, if you like, at the heart of this conflict between the government and filmmakers in the cultural sector. What is it about documentary film? You're a member of the Documentary Association. What is it about documentary film in particular that you think makes it so unpleasant or even dangerous for a government like Georgia's?
Well, I understand why they are so scared of the documentary filmmakers and the documentary films, because it tries to depict only the reality, but from the perspective of author's point of view, which usually is critical. And authoritarian systems, they don't like to be criticized anyway. I think that this is documentary filmmaking is like a very, very strong tool to not only for like a creative expression of something for you as an artist, but also to somehow keep the history of your own country, to observe, to discover, to reflect, and to try to see things as they are. And what our government is trying to do is just to hide things as they are. And this is like, and of course, they are not going to support documentary filmmaking, as we call it, creative documentary filmmaking with a strong voice of author in the circumstances we are now.
Thank you, Keto, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and best of luck with the Documentary Association and with your fight for independent filmmaking in Georgia.
Thank you, and good luck.